Today is the day we're finally going to cut this wig. One thing to note about this is the shape is actually it's mostly okay. When I give her a shake, the front moves nicely. The back is a little bit stiff. So really it's kind of too thick in the back. Wigs are typically more dense than a normal human head, and even human heads are much denser in the back than in the front. And if you think about it for a second, it totally makes sense because, if I have hair from the top of my head down to the bottom of my hairline, that represents how much hair is going to be in the density down at the bottom. Well, in the back, most people have hair from the top of their head down all the way down to that hairline. So you have a much, much bigger hairline that you're dealing with in the back versus the front. So it stands to reason that there's going to be a lot more hair down there at the bottom. If I like the way the hair in the front moves, we have a lot of hair to eliminate in the back. So with our mannequin, mostly what we're going to be doing today is fixing these bangs. We're going to be adjusting the thickness for some extra movement in the back. And then you can see how poorly these colors are blended. So I want to make sure and do some blending of those colors too. The tools we're going to need today, besides our wig brush, is a regular cutting comb, some hair cutting shears, and some thinning shears. I prefer a thinning shear somewhere between 25 and 30 teeth. It's really good for thinning without really leaving its mark behind too badly. So first things first, let's talk about thinning the wig as a whole. In cosmetology school, we're taught a few rules about thinning hair. One of the first rules of the hair is don't thin too close to the surface. Thinning shears or any thinning technique does is it cuts alternating short and long hairs within your design. If I were to take this top layer of hair and cut with some thinning shears right there, then chances are I'm going to have visible short and long lines, or you're going to have, especially on a person, some hairs that are a little bit freer to do whatever the heck they want to do right around the surface. I want these surface hairs to kind of keep those hairs in check. So I'm still going to avoid using the thinning shears up around the crown, although I may use them down on the ends because it's okay to thin down here at the bottom because all those hairs are going to blend, but this will leave you a very stark contrast between your short hair and your long hair. If we're going to thin any of the hair around the crown, let's keep it toward the ends. The second rule that you typically learn in school is to not thin too close to the roots. That even if you are cutting down here, way underneath the hair, and you cut too close to the roots, then that's going to leave you with short hairs that as they grow, they're going to puff up and make your hair more poofy instead of less poofy. That's the rule we're going to break today because that rule is made with the assumption that hair is going to grow. This is a wig, it doesn't grow. So if I take my thinning shears or whatever thinning technique I like, and I decide to insert them here at the scalp and cut, leave them closed, pull them out, and all the little hairs drop out. I'm neither adding volume nor will that ever turn into more volume. Just remember, wigs don't grow, so don't be in a hurry. Cutting a wig, especially thinning the wig, is going to be a process of discovery. Think of it as like a seek and find mission. We're going to make a snip, see what it did. Make another snip, see what it did. We've already determined that the front moves pretty well. It's the back that's giving us problems. And you can see clearly, not even necessarily the surface. It's all this stuff back here. So I have two goals: to thin the hair, and I'm going to thin all the way down to the weft and just eliminate that hair entirely. Typically, to blend these, we're going to really focus on the ends and try to blend through the ends. So my order of operation is going to be thin at the roots first, then come back and see what thinning at the ends I need to do. Because if you did it the other way around, if I blended the ends first and it looked great and then went through and blended the roots, then I may be cutting out some of the hairs that made up the blend here. If I do it in this order, a lot of the thinning that I do may automatically give me the result I want here. And then that's going to lessen my workload when it comes to blending through the ends. But typically you want your hair to be lighter in the front, darker in the back, and darker underneath, because this is where the sun is least likely to shine. So in order to get a blend, even though I probably want to maximize my blonde everywhere else, here, the thinning I'm going to do, I'm really going to try to focus on the blonde wefts to get that darker look underneath and see if I can't make her look more natural. So the missing supplies that I didn't mention again would be our clips. I'm going to separate front and back and top and bottom. So right about around the occipital bone, where that occipital bone would be, I'm going to clip all that hair up. The great thing about cutting wigs, as the wefts are right here, that's really going to help me make sure that I've got nice, clean, defined parts. So I'm going to split this around the center so that I've got hair to clip. This is another reason why you'd want to wait for all that steaming work you did to cool, because what if I clipped this up hot? It would have kinks and twists in it. So now I've exposed all this stuff that really doesn't like to move. Now I like to work from the nape upwards because I can thin, drop the hair down, move on, drop the hair down, move on. It just makes more sense to me. And I'm going to pin up my subsections. And all that pinning work is kind of done. These are 32 thinning shears. And like I said before, I want to try to maximize my dark hairs on the underneath. So I'm really going to focus on coming in here all the way up against the weft and cutting on that blonde hair. And that gray reference hair. They really didn't need to put that much gray hair in there. And I am going to give it one snip over here because you can sort of visibly see it's gotten thinner here, but it's still pretty thick there. So I'm going to all the way up to the weft. So when it comes to thinning a wig, not only is it totally okay for you to break the rules, it's actually really important to. Because if you don't thin all the way down to the scalp, you end up with little tiny hairs like these ones that really have no purpose. Like these need to go. All of these little short hairs are just going to be pushing out and making the hair fluffy, unless that's what you want, and then leave them. See, this actually looks like this weft here, for whatever reason, was sewn on upside down. Can you see that? So these hairs are poking upwards. This entire weft is causing me grief. So I'm going to come in here with my shears, be careful of the lace. And we're going to get rid of that upside down weft. Just get rid of it. It twisted somehow in the process. There you can see there's a twist right there. So the rest of that is okay. Ah, so much better. Okay, back to thinning. And you can see it's thicker here where this blonde is than it is here. So I'm going to grab the blonde all the way to the scalp, give it just one snip of my thinning shears. Same thing here. Ideally, you're just going to be going through this one weft at a time and looking at the thickness. This is not the type of weft that you're going to wear half up, half down. So if it is see-through, even all the way up to the occipital bone, and you can still see scalp through it, that is 100% okay, because there's still all this hair is going to sit on top of it. Okay, so we still have some patchiness with the color, but when we move, that's looking a lot better to me. With these really, really short hairs, there's only so much they're going to move because they're so short. But when I'm looking at the front versus the back and the way that it moves, I'm feeling a lot better about it now. Now we just need to look at our colors. So when we comb this down, let's have her look down again a little bit. Because of the shadows of the dark hair here, it almost makes her look like she's got a shelf. If I turn her, there really is no shelf to be seen, but it's that color difference. And then we just have more of the too much lightness here, too much darkness here and here. So once again, with my thinning shears, I'm literally gonna grab the spots I don't like, remove them, confirm that, yep, I must have the problem spot in my hand. I like to elevate and then cut on a diagonal, because if I do that, then all my ends aren't going to fall to the same place. If I were to just to slide my shears in and cut right there, then all of my ends are going to be right there and I'm more likely to see them. If I elevate the hair and then cut it even when it's elevated, then when it falls down, they're not going to fall to the same spot. Too dark right there. So I'm going to grab the dark hair, elevate it, give it a snip, let it go. Pay attention, make sure the ends aren't getting too thin. There we go. It's not the best blend, but it's starting to take away that feeling as if there was a shelf there. But if I had done all of this before I thinned it at the weft, then that may have not only would that have changed the color balance, but it may have just undone everything that I did. And then I would end up with an overly thinned wig. And I don't want that. Nobody wants that. So I'm gonna grab these dark hairs, give them a little snip, and grab these light hairs, move those out of the way, and see how that looks without these sitting on top. That's, there's still more problems down here. That's a better blend. Here's some of my problem makers right here. That's looking better. But if I put this hair back, I've still got a problem here. Working with wigs and extensions is a really, really great way to demonstrate and observe how color placement and haircut really go hand in hand. Much better. It's not looking shelfy there. There's some funkiness happening through here. That's going to be a tough one because there's so much dark hair here and so much light hair here. Then not only is it not blending at the ends, but it's also just not blending here. And then my last little problem spot I feel like is right here. Not only is it not blending here, but it's especially not blending here. So we'll start at the bottom. Once again, because if I blend this into there, then I may not have to blend this into there. Let's get that dark hair out of the way. And that's better. Now we'll drop that dark hair back down. Definitely still needs to be blended. We'll grab our chunky spot. It's all happening right in here. There we go. That's looking better. The bulk of our haircut is done. We've got a little bit more movement through the back. We've got some better blending for our color. Oh, but those bangs. What is the PTA gonna think? This is where the thinning shears go away and my regular hair cutting shears come out. When you're cutting bangs, there's such a small margin of error because you're dealing with such shorter hair that, you know, being an 1/8 of an inch off here is way worse than being like an 1/8 of an inch off here. No one will ever notice if you're an 1/8 of an inch off here. If you're an 1/8 of an inch off here, someone's gonna notice. But that also means because wigs are flexible, just little minute adjustments can sometimes make big differences. So for the most part, this shape is okay. I really just wish she blended better. So I'm gonna take my regular shears. We're gonna isolate those bangs. Using the wide teeth of my comb, I want to cut this hair exactly where it's sitting. So I'm going to move around as I cut, elevate, place in the comb, and then now keep it as close to the head as possible. And then I'm going to point cut, taking little tiny snips. Just trying to smooth that line out. Go around and cut it like that. That already, with the teeny tiny bit we did, makes such a big difference. I'm gonna elevate this hair and then just notch into it. Literally inserting my shears, same direction as the hair. So without further ado, let's check it out. You did it. Oh my gosh, you fixed that mess I made. Cosmo Dad, you are a miracle worker. Oh my gosh. Oh, wait until the PTA sees this. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you saw and you want to see some more, go ahead and check out some of my other videos. Feel free to share with any of your nerdy friends. Click the subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Let me know what else you want to hear about. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.